In our breaking story this morning, fresh off of a warm reception at the Commanders game last night, well, NBC News is reporting Donald Trump will welcome Ahmad al-Shara to the Oval Office in an unprecedented meeting scheduled for later today. Who is al-Shara? Well, and why is a man who up until last December was on the global terrorist list, who also sported a $10 million bounty on his head? Well, now he's welcomed at the White House. So let's get a little backstory before we get to our breaking story.
In just 6 months, Ahmed al-Shara went from Islamist rebel to shaking hands with an American president, the first Syrian president in 25 years to do so.
Young, attractive guy, tough guy, strong pass.
Syrians celebrated Trump's decision to begin normalizing relations.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
Until December, the U.S. had a $10 million bounty on al-Shara, known then as Mohammed al-Jawlani. He'd fought American forces in Iraq and later founded an al-Qaeda offshoot in Syria, leading them to oust dictator Bashar al-Assad. Syrian-American activist Muaz Mustafa is helping rebuild severed ties.
Is he really a changed man?
He's 100% a changed man, and I want to say,
How do you know?
well, let's judge him by his actions. I'm not here to say any of these decisions and his checkered past is not existent. But the fact is, this is a changed man, and this is a person who is not interested in anything but rebuilding the country and wants to see peace with all of the neighbors, wants to stay out of war with everyone in the Middle East.
So what is the significance of the President of the United States meeting with Ahmed al-Shara?
I think it is a transformative moment for the Middle East. Millions of Syrians can now return home, means that when the time comes, the United States can make an orderly withdrawal of U.S. troops, and it means that China, Russia, Iran, and ISIS can no longer have a foothold in Syria, and that is great for the entire Middle East.
Ground us a little bit more here on Syria. Why is it important to U.S. national security?
Well, John, there are roughly 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria. Some of them are around oil fields that President Trump wants U.S. firms to invest in. Others are helping to keep ISIS and terror groups at bay. Eventually, President Trump wants al-Shara to take control of some of the camps where those fighters are held. It's also important to two U.S. adversaries. Iran has used Syria as a land bridge to deliver weapons and supplies to its militias, and Russia has 2 military bases there. So that means sidelining those adversaries would help the U.S.
Margaret, a whole lot of stagecraft and theater around this announcement, but is it a done deal yet?
It's not completely done, Maurice. The Saudi crown prince and the Turkish president asked President Trump to do this, and there were cheers in the room. But Ahmed al-Shara is still technically designated as a terrorist by the United Nations. The group he led is designated as a terror group under U.S. law. So American investment and support may not just flow right back in. It's more complicated.
Margaret Brennan in Washington. Thank you, Margaret.
Recently seen here shooting hoops just last week with U.S. military, including CENTCOM Chief Admiral Brad Cooper, once jihadist, now interim Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara, a man Trump apparently finds attractive enough to mention it in interviews. We'll get another chance to sit face-to-face in the Oval Office later today. As NBC reports just this morning, from jail jihadist to the Oval Office, Syria's president caps unlikely rise with Trump meeting. The Oval Office is a long way from Abu Ghraib. When he is greeted by President Donald Trump on Monday, Ahmad al-Shara will have completed his journey from jihadist leader to head of state, receiving a warm White House welcome. Since toppling the regime of President Bashar al-Assad, Syria's interim leader has spent the past year transforming his global image while tackling deep divisions at home. Now, al-Shara, who has thrown off his nom de guerre, Abu Mohammed al-Jawlani, will make history as the first Syrian president to visit the White House. During his Washington visit, al-Shara is expected to commit to joining the U.S.-led coalition to defeat the Islamic State militant group, 2 U.S. officials told NBC News. It would be a significant step in his country's engagement with the West. The State Department removed al-Shara and his interior minister from the specially designated global terrorist list Friday, while the United Kingdom and Europe removed sanctions on al-Shahara after the United Nations Security Council voted in favor of a U.S.-drafted resolution to do so. The Washington trip is a high-level sign of the trust that the American administration has placed in al-Shahara and the hope that he will succeed in holding Syria together during this incredibly complicated transition period, said Borku Oselik, a senior research fellow at the Royal United States Institute, a London-based think tank. He's certainly being very smart. John Jenkins, a former British diplomat who has previously served as head of mission in Syria, said of al-Shahar in email comments. A trip to D.C. makes him look respectable, said Jenkins, an associate fellow at Chatham House and a leader at the Cambridge University Center for Geopolitics. But he added, the key issues are domestic. Al-Shahar will be hoping to emerge strengthened domestically, and key to that effort is his bid to remove remaining sanctions imposed on Syria during Assad's rule. But sanctions will not be the only focus, with the effort to quell ISIS resurgence and relations with Israel also expected to play a central role. The U.S. ally has faced growing isolation on the global stage over its deadly assault in Gaza, but Trump has previously expressed hopes Syria would join other Arab nations in normalizing ties with Israel under the Abraham Accords, which were expanded again last week. It remains unclear whether Trump will push the matter during talks with al-Shahara on Monday. Syria, historically a staunch ally of Iran, has never recognized Israel and has been locked in a state of conflict with the country since its establishment in 1948. Iranian proxy Hezbollah has also long been deeply embedded in Syria after joining the Assad regime's military efforts. So while Republicans wring their hands over Zohran Mamdani, throwing all kinds of inaccuracies around, blaming him for just about everything,
you can endorse communist all you want, but at least keep the government operating for it.
This tells you everything you need to know about the Republican Party. At a time when 4 million Americans are in danger of losing their health care, when the federal government is choosing to price hungry Americans across this country out of their very groceries, their focus is to take on the Muslim guy.
Well, it seems there's a place at the table in the White House for a guy who fought against U.S. troops in the Iraq War.